Hello and welcome to another session in mathematics. In this session we'll be looking at compound interest. Compound interest. In our previous class we looked at simple interest. Today is what? Compound interest. But before we go on, let us take a review of our previous lesson. Welcome back. Unlike the simple interest where someone pays interest every year for borrowing a certain amount of money, here in compound interest, the interest is added to the principal at the end of each interval. At the end of each interval, then the interest is added to the principal. Okay, so for every interval, if it is a year thing, then it means at the end of every year you must add what? The interest to the principal amount that was given to you. Okay, the money paid at the end of each interval is what we call the amount. The money paid what at the end of each interval is what we call the amount. Okay, and I told us that the amount is always equal to the principal plus what? The interest. Yeah, I said that in our last class. The amount to be paid is always equal to the initial principal. The principal is the amount the lender lends to a borrower. Okay, then the interest is the amount that is added to the money that has been lent to someone. So when returning it, you then pay interest. Okay, now the amount is equal to principal plus what? Interest. Fine. So the difference between the amount at the last interval and the initial principal is what we call the compound interest. What did I say? Is the difference between what? The amount at the last interval, the amount at the last interval, and the initial principal. That's what we call what? Compound interest. Let me say it again. I said that the compound interest is the difference between the amount at the last interval and then the what? Initial principal. The difference between the both of them is what we call what? The compound interest. So let us take some examples quickly to dilute these definitions. Number one, find the compound interest on a loan of $3,600 for 4 years at 5% per annum. Okay, let us start. Like I told us that the interest is added to what? The principal at the end of every what? Interval. So we are looking at how many years? 4 years. How many percent? 5%. And what's the loan? $3,600 what? US dollars. So let us start. We'll start with year one. First year is equal to, we have the principal, and our principal is what? $3,600 US dollars, right? And then we'll have what? The interest. So how do we calculate the interest? The interest is being calculated by multiplying 3,600 to the percentage of the interest, and we are told that the percentage of the interest is what? Is 5%. So for this we'll have 5 over 100 times what? 3,600, and that will give us what? 180. So we have what? Interest. And at this point you add the both of them. Adding the both of them, you have 3,780 US dollars. Okay, so the second year we have the principal. Now the principal in the second year is now this amount and no longer 3,600. Okay, so the principal is now 3,780, where our interest will be the 5% of 3,780. So we have 5 over 100 times 3,780. Okay, and that will give us what? Cross check it. 189. That's correct. 189. Add them up. What do you have? You have 3,969. Okay, let's go over to the next page. For the third year, our principal is then equal to 3,969, 3,969, and then our interest is 5% of this, 5 over 100 times 3,969. And what would that give us? Okay, that will give us 167.45. You add it here, 167.45 added to this amount to have 4,167.45. Then our fourth year, which is the last year, our fourth year, we have our principal to be equal to what? 4,167.45. Then our interest will have 5 over 100 times what? 4,167.45. And what would that give us? We'll have 208.37. So we'll add it, 208.37. When we add it up, what do we have? We have 4375.82. Okay, we're dealing in what? In dollar. Fine. I told us earlier that the compound interest is the final amount minus what? The initial amount or the original amount. So our final amount now, our final amount is this, 4,375.82, and our original amount from the question is equal to what? 3,600. Go back to your question. 3,600, right? So our compound interest is then equal to 4,375.82 minus 3,600. And what would that give us? To give us 775.82 in US what? Dollar. And that's just the answer. Okay, now I want to show us a shorter way of solving this, a shorter way of solving such problem. The compound interest has a formula. So let me show us the formula, compound interest formula. Okay, let us check the formula, how it works. It is given as P into 1 plus R over 100, close the bracket, raised to power n, then minus 1. Okay, so this is the formula we use in solving for what? Compound interest. Compound interest. Okay, let us check how it works. Our P, using this same question, our P, which is principal, is 3,600. 3,600. What's our R? Our R is what? Is the rate, which is what? 5%. We have 5%. Okay, and then our year, the time is what? 4 years, and it is represented by this n. So our n is 4 years. Okay, and then we found all that is required. We now substitute. We have 3,600 into, open a bracket, 1 plus our R is what? Is 5 over 100 raised to power what? 4 minus 1. We have 3,600 into 1 plus 5 divided by 100 will give us what? 0.05 raised to power 4 minus 1. Remember? Okay, then we have 3,600 into this plus this, 1 plus 0.05 will give us 1.05 raised to power what? 4. then minus 1. Okay, so 1.04 raised to the power 4 then minus 1 will give us 0.2155. okay, and then 3600 times 0.2155 will give us 775.8 in US dollars. And what did we get initially? 775.82, 775.8. So this is a shorter way of solving a compound interest problem. Once you know the formula, then you can apply it and use it anytime, anywhere, and in any problem. Okay, so thank you for being part of today's class. Hope you really enjoyed everything we did. To refresh your memory on what we've done, kindly provide the answer to the following questions on the screen. Welcome back. So far we've been able to deal with compound interest, and we'll stop here today. So do well to use the lesson note on the platform for better information on what we've just done, and feel free to leave your questions or comments on the comment section. Till we meet again, stay safe. Bye.